Oh, we start with even more fallout from APD's deadly shooting of James Boyd in the foothills last month.
Tonight, several groups will be heading to the spot where officers shot Boyd, a mentally ill homeless man armed with knives and who police say threatened officers. The Boyd case sparked the big protest in Albuquerque last weekend and has sparked international outrage. Now, those groups have announced online that they will meet at the Copper Trailhead at 6:30 p.m. They will hike their way up to the place where police shot Boyd 2 weeks ago and hold a candlelight vigil. They will also plan to have a eulogy and a moment of silence. Mayor R.J. Berry appeared on national TV talking about the APD protest and the controversial shooting of James Boyd. Check it out.
This is the video that prompted these protests in part.
A very serious situation, and we have 6 multi-jurisdictional agencies looking at that, and they need to look at that because we need answers. We have an FBI criminal investigation.
Albuquerque has made national news for days because of the protest and, of course, because of this controversial shooting in the foothills where many people say cops crossed the line. Mayor Berry told Fox News yesterday the officers involved are still on administrative leave. He talked about a spike in APD shootings in 2010, but said the numbers have dropped to be at or below the national average for the last 3 years. And the rash of shootings involving APD, including those which have involved mentally ill suspects, has prompted a call to get those in need more behavioral health help. It's believed James Boyd was schizophrenic. Yesterday, a group of faith-based and health organizations teamed up to push for an inpatient facility with about 100 beds in Albuquerque. Right now, there are only 75 beds available for the entire city. The group also pointed out that there is nowhere to send people who need inpatient mental care, which is now covered, by the way, under the Affordable Care Act. Pictures and videos from Sunday's APD protest are making their rounds, no doubt, on the web.
In fact, one video shows a confrontation that you might have missed. There was a protester riding around with an upside-down U.S. flag. Well, 2 men chased him down right here, and the protester drops the flag on the ground. A man in a U.S. Marine tank top picks it up and turns it right side up. Another demonstrator starts arguing with the 2 men before they start yelling back. Well, an upside-down flag is typically used to signal distress. Response online has been sharply divided over this. One person wrote on our website, "Thank you, Marines. Our flag should never be disrespected." But there is another that says, quote, "I see nothing honorable about attempting to stop people from exercising their First Amendment right of freedom of speech." Well, his video that brought the protest to countless people for 8 straight hours.
Yeah, we're talking about a guy by the name of Thomas Dixon. He spent the day with hundreds of protesters as they flooded the streets of Albuquerque. Dixon's video shows the protests starting peacefully with a message against what demonstrators call police brutality. But then there were signs that the protest was headed in another direction. At one point, Dixon even warned one guy walking up Central with a rifle.
I'd be careful with having that gun, man. You're gonna get shot.
I know. It's an open carry state, though.
Dixon says although he saw some protesters get out of hand and saw police using their tear gas, he says most of the protests stayed peaceful and on message. Dixon says overall he was impressed of how APD handled the demonstration.
Well, this morning, a former Berlin police detective is not allowed to be back on the job. That was part of the sentence for John Lytle here, who responded to a burglary at his own home back in 2011. Lytle stopped a car he thought belonged to the guy who did it, handcuffed the 18-year-old inside, then kneed and punched him. Lytle was charged federally with violating the teen's civil rights. Yesterday, he pled guilty, and as part of the sentence, a judge gave Lytle 5 years probation and barred him from working in law enforcement.
Investigators say a man's plot to kill his wife was foiled by a guy he thought was a hitman who he hired to do the job. 36-year-old Cody Gus is accused of trying to pay a guy $5,000 to murder his wife in their Portales home and stage it to look like a suicide. According to the criminal complaint, Gus wanted his wife dead because she, quote, wasn't a good mother. A neighbor was horrified when she learned about what happened.
I'm really shocked because I never would expect that kind of planning and plotting and violence.
In the complaint, Gus apparently admitted to the bogus hitman. Amarillo police were actually tipped off about the case by someone in Texas who knew Gus. The FBI got involved and the departments went undercover to pose as the hitman. Gus was arrested last week.
The Mayor R.J. Berry's budget for the city next year is nearly $500 million. That's about 3% more than this year. It includes small pay hikes for most city workers. There's also an extra $1 million for economic development and job creation and nearly $2 million more for transit. Mr. Berry also wants you to pay about $2 more a month to have your trash picked up and pay $1 more to park at the Sunport to help cover the cost of lost revenue when Southwest cuts flights here later this year.